This is lesson 18, first video, second day of Pandas database, and the things that we want to cover today. Again, before we get started there, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that walk through those Jupyter notebooks. I cannot stress that enough, and I cannot cover every single thing. The idea there is that you're not necessarily memorizing all the commands, but that you sort of know the functionality and the things that can be accomplished in Pandas, which is a lot more than maybe what I'm putting out here on these videos. So just walk through those. You can hit Shift Enter and have it do its thing, change things in there. And so that's the idea of the Jupyter notebooks. You can read sort of the ideas and then go into the notebook itself and change the code and make sure that you feel comfortable running it. And then you come back and ask questions. I mean, sometimes I won't know the answer to it necessarily, like if you ask me on the spot, but I might have to do a little bit of research or play around with it until I get the thing to do what we want it to do. All right, so today again, first video in Pandas day 2, we're going to talk about merge. We'll do a little bit of pivot table intro, and the only reason I'm doing this is so that you can kind of see maybe some things that we can actually do with these data frames. And then we'll create a new data frame using some, and this is the primary thing right here, creating this new column from outside information. And so I have so you guys need to watch me again, typing this stuff in. I have two pieces of data here. I have a data frame that contains food, and you can see that there's a couple pieces of bacon, but they have different ounces that are associated with them. And I even put some capital letters in here so that we could take care of that, just so that when we go to look these things up, they're the same. All right, so let's just go ahead and hit F9, and we can bring up the data, which is food and ounces, right? So I have 4 ounces of bacon in one. Maybe this is some kind of inventory thing that someone's taken, and they get 12 ounces of bacon and 6 ounces of pastrami, and then the small pastrami is down here. And you can kind of see maybe in a capital B is here. So you can see an issue, hopefully right now, if I was going to try to marry these up. So in other words, well, first of all, this is not in a good way, right? Why would I say this is not in a good way? The way I like to do business is I would like to have these things kind of going in the same direction as this. So right now, food is up here, and I would probably like it to be in that coming down like it is in this data range. So if I'm going to match two things up, I want them to sort of look the same. And so maybe the first thing that we do is, and if you remember, we can do a transpose on these because indexes, it doesn't matter which index is going which, and I did use indexes instead of indices. Okay. Come bring these back up. I'm going to X out of here. So let's do the first thing that we do. Let's do the meat to animal. So meat. Oh, so I forgot to tell you. So what I want to do is I want to take this data and this data and marry it up. In other words, when it says bacon, I want there to be another column out here that says basically animal, and then it says bacon is a pig. And pulled pork is a pig, and pastrami is a pig, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and first do that meat to animal. Animal equals meat to works. Let's look at it. Okay, so the food and animal is coming out to be the exact same thing. So in other words, bacon was pig, right? So this might not be the best way to bring this in. I probably should have just did index. It was food and animal, and it just brought this in as the index. And so what I was hoping that this would do is have a column, maybe 0 through whatever, and have a column here and a column here. But it doesn't matter. The only thing that we really care about is this guy. Just understand that this is food. This is the food, and we'll use that here in a second. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to correct inside this data frame. I'm just going to leave this up. I keep clicking on it. I'm just going to leave it up. Inside this data frame, there's capital letters and whatnot. So I'm just going to make them all capital letters. So food equal to data. And we will, if we haven't yet, I think we have already, we've used this string. I think we did it last time when doing regular expressions. So if you pull out the data, so the dot string pulls all the string stuff out, and then what I can do is do a string method, which is lower. So we'll do a string lower method, and in F9, exit out, bring it back up. And hopefully these are all lowercase letters, which they are. So that looks good now. And so that's that's a little bit of data sort of managing, munging, sometimes you call that, when you're sort of making the data look how you want it to look. And you're gonna have to do that a lot with real data. You're gonna have to mess around with data a lot. So I just want to throw it out there. You can do a help.pd.merge, because that's what we're gonna do here with these two things. And I don't think I need the two parentheses. So F9, and we'll move this guy out of the way for a second. Pull it up, and you can see the help business here with it. So there's examples in here, what you can do. There's all the different types of the defaults, the left on, the right on, the left index, right index. Remember the how, if we're going to do, there's this thing called an inner join, an outer join. So that's the how is the type of join that you're doing. On is the index that you're going to do it on. So if there were two columns that were the same that you wanted to do it, then you would use on. If one, the left data frame and the right data frame had different columns, and you would do left on, right on. If you're just going to use the indices, so left index, right index, so you're going to just turn that to true or false. So in our case, let's remember what this thing looks like. Let's bring up data on one side and meet the animal on the other. And remember what I want to do here is bacon, I need an animal, and it needs to look it up and say pig. So the pig needs to be here, and then pulled pork is also pig, and then pastrami or bacon is pig again, and then pastrami. So what we're trying to do is create this new column. All right, so let's move these out of the way. I'll move them down here so hopefully we can still see. And then data. Before I change it, before I create this column, I want to make sure that it works. So just like we have in the past, I'm going to do a pd.merge, and then we'll come back and set it equal to. So what is the merge? My left, I'm going to let that be data. My right is going to be, was it animal to meet? Animal to meet the data frame. And then left on, right? So the next thing is we need to figure out how we're going to merge these things together. So the data frame has, so you come over here to the data frame, and it has food, and that's how we're going to match up. So our food is going to match the index in here. So that's what we wanted to do. So left on is going to be, so left on equals food. So that should work. Right, so that's my left data frame, which is data, and it has a column that's called food, and that's why we did what we did. It's not the index. And then the let's see, the right one there, the food, it doesn't work out. So pig and bacon aren't the same. So I'm going to do it on the index. And that's why I said earlier that I would have liked the bacon to be over here in food, and then we could have done a right on, but it doesn't matter. I can definitely do it with the index. And the way you do the index is it's right index. I think it's equal to, and you got to turn this one to true. So if you do that, and let's see what happens here. Index, oh, we got to give it a how. So how are we going to join these? I'm going to join them with a left. It's not an inner join. So there's a difference in an inner join, outer join, a left, and a right join. So all of those sort of mean something in the database world. Make sure you go back and you check that out, because it's in the Jupyter Notebook. He talks about it. Vanderplas talks about it. and it didn't like something in there. Let's see, animal to meat. Oh, I spelled that wrong. I'm the wrong way. Animal. So I saw that it was an error back there. Is the reason why I knew something was wrong. And those little yellow things told us something's wrong as well. And if we do that, let me move these. I forgot. You got to kind of X out of here, or you'll never be able to get them back. And then you get food X is bacon, ounces, food Y. So it's doing what we want it to do. The problem is there's that extra food category has got us. So what we can, there's a couple things we could do. So we just tell me the one that we want, which is animal. And we'll come back and we'll fix this. Yes, I see that it's going past that, but we'll fix it here in a second. And that's what I want. So that's what I want to call my data animal. I want that. Let's fix our, all right. And then tell data to come back out. And we see it's doing what we want to do. So bacon is a pig, pulled pork's a pig, bacon's a pig, pastrami is a cow. Remember, make sure that, okay, I don't really know what pastrami is. Corned beef is cow, honey ham is pig, and Nova Lox. Okay, so it did what we wanted to do. Now I'm going to introduce real quick, the pivot table. So let's look at what we can do with this. So remember so data is that thing right there. And let's suppose that we were trying to, I don't know, add up all the different types of food that we have. So that's sort of one thing that we can do. So data dot pivot table. And that one down there. And then whatever you want to happen to this thing. For example, over here you see ounces, that's number. Well, we can count, we can sum, we can take the average, we can do any sort of, you can actually do many different types of ag functions. So if you don't do anything, it'll find the mean. I don't think I want the mean. Maybe we want the sum instead. So we will do that. So I'm going to use the thing that I want to do math on, or thing I want to aggregate, is the first thing that goes in there. And then you tell it the index. So that's the thing that's going down the row. Think of that. Think index is row. So I'm going to let that be animal, and maybe ag is equal to, we got to tell it the sum instead of mean. There you go. So now we know that we have 16.5 ounces of cow, 32 ounces of pig, and 6 ounces of salmon. And if you came in here and you added up all those, hopefully 4, 7, 19, 19 and 8 is 20, 19 and 8 is, did I get all the pigs? 7, 19, and 8 is 27, and I missed a pig. Good. 27 and 5 is 32. All right, so good. All right, just the quick math that hopefully it comes out the same. So you can kind of see what pivot table is doing here. Maybe we do annex. Let's see. Let's go. This isn't a great set of data to do this on, but I don't know. We'll throw something in there. It's going to be a lot of zeros. If you give it 2 indices, hopefully it does something. And so the 2 indices will be bacon pig, 24 ounces, corn. So now what you've done is you've summarized all the bacon pigs that you got, and it just summed up all those 24. And then you had some honey ham pig, which is 5, and some pulled pork pig, which is 3, and so on and so forth. So you can see, you can even do it into a table if you wanted to. So instead of doing this, let's go with animal, and then you can give it columns. Let's try that. Columns. This is the one. All right. So now you can see maybe a 2-dimensional table that's kind of pulled out here, and we'll work with some of these in a few or next video. And there's a way, obviously, to let's see, fill in A with a 0. All right, so now you can sort of see a table that okay, here's the cows, and you can see where there's numbers there. Oh, and you can also put, let's do this, margin, ooh, I spelled margin wrong, margin equals true, and add up those. Margin, let's see, it's here, let's do pivot table. Help e dot pivot table. And again, this is sort of helping you figure out, well, how do I know the things that I can do? And so margins name, margins. So I should have had another S on there. And now what it did was it gave you a summary. So all of the bacon, all of the corned beef, all of the honey ham. So if there were a cow bacon, so I guess these margins, it really doesn't make sense here. Maybe it does over here. Yeah, so it does on this side. On the bottom, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's no corned beef pig. I mean, in other words, this is very unique here. But on this one, you do have 24 of that, 5 of that, and so on and so forth. Okay. So now let's look at it maybe a different way of doing this. So let's start over. So F9. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use meat to animal, but it's no longer a pandas data frame. Now it's a dictionary. So if I pick it up, to me this makes a lot of sense. I have meat to animal and so on and so forth. So now we can do something maybe a little bit different. So let me grab this string is lower because if it doesn't match up, then it's obviously not going to work. So press F9 there. So we got that guy. We know that's going to work. And then, so I'm going to do this print data F9. And what I'm going to do is it's called a map. So I'm going to map, so data animal, and it's basically the same thing that I did just a second ago, but this little function here allows us to do it a little bit, I think maybe a little bit easier. And there might have been an easier way to do it before, but if I'm going to data animal is equal to data food dot map meat to animal. All right, so what are we doing here? I'm mapping. So let me print off this real quick just so we can see what it is. So what it's doing is it's looking in food and wherever the index in meat to animal, so it's looking in food. Let me pull this up right now and move it over here. So it's looking in meat to animal, which is this dictionary, and wherever food, the column in food matches meat to animal, then it's going to produce this pig, right? So that'll be the first thing in the list, and then it'll go through and say pulled pork, and it'll go through and there'll be a second thing called pig, and then it'll look bacon, and it'll also find pig, and then pastrami it'll find, and it just keeps doing that, and it creates this list, and then at the end of the day it'll have a list, and it'll assign that list to animals. So every single, so you might have an NA if there's a food that's in here that's not in your dictionary. So just know that can happen as well. But it's going to have something for every one of them. So print data and X out. And now we have exactly what we had done up here with this merge. Yeah, with this merge, but it's maybe a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit quicker. Just know that dictionaries and you can work with dictionaries inside your pandas data frame. Okay, that's all I got, and we'll see you next time.